Continuing with our twill weaves, we have our cavalry twill. This one is 100% polyester, made with a textured filament yarn, and the texturization means that it can imitate a spun yarn, but we'll look and see how we can tell the difference. This is a warp-faced twill weave. It was piece dyed. There is no finish. The texturization means it's matte. It says excellent absorbency, but of course this is polyester, which is a non-absorbent fiber. So I'm not sure that I completely agree with that. Used in jackets and pants, especially in military uniforms. And, so let's see if we can really catch it out. So it has the same matte finish that we might expect to see in a spun fabric. If we didn't know the fiber content, we may not even suspect that it's not a spun yarn. But as we pull one out right there, right, and we spin it back and forth to, I'm just going to work with one here. So we spin it back and forth to loosen up the fibers in the yarn. We notice that we really never do get it to disintegrate into bundles of separate fibers, and we're never really able to successfully break it with our fingers. Let's go right to the end and see if we can't get it to fray out. Alright, it's kind of tough because this one, it feels very kind of like it has a stiff finish on it. But you can see I'm fraying it out a tiny bit, and it's still really resisting breaking into separate fibers. It has no fiber ends sticking out of the surface of it. And so although this really does look like a spun yarn and feel like a spun yarn, we can tell after looking at it closely, with no fiber ends and no fuzz and not being able to break it, this is in fact a filament yarn. This warp sateen, made with 98% cotton, which is part of the definition of the name sateen. It has a tiny bit of spandex. This has a spun warp and a composite filling, and the composite reflects the fact that it includes the spandex. This is a warp-faced satin. It was piece dyed, and using the union dye method, we know because it's all one color. Sateen is characterized by a very smooth hand. In this case, the excellent absorbency is going to be true because it is made with cotton, and this is used in shirts and pants, well, in apparel products, basically. So here is our warp sateen. Right? It doesn't look like satin, but it was made using a satin weave, and it's nice and smooth, and just feel that stretch, right? And then we can pull some of these yarns here and take a look. These are the composite filling, right? And wow, how stretchy those are, but I'm able to pull fibers out, so while it's a composite made with the spandex, it's still a spun yarn. And then in the warp direction, nowhere near as much stretch. And can you see the fibers sticking off the surface of that right away? Little tiny ones. That tells us, even if we didn't know it was cotton, that this, and I can pull hairs off, this is a spun yarn. Swatch number 45 is 100% acetate. All the better to see you with, my dear. The filament acetate on this warp-faced satin. And we'll look on this one to see what we mean by warp-faced. This acetate was solution dyed, and in part we solution dye acetate if we wanted to have better color fastness and high luster and pore abrasion resistance. Going back to the color fastness, because acetate has a problem with fugitive dyes. The dyes will change color when exposed to burnt gases, burnt gas fumes like car exhaust, which for people in the bridal setting means you want to be careful when you're getting out of the limo. But this one was solution dyed so that we could use a dye that didn't have the bonding problem with the acetate. And see how shiny that is, but on the back side, right, there's no shine. It's warp faced because in this case we're mostly seeing the warp yarns. And these filament yarns, right, very smooth, no fiber ends sticking out of them.